All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to today's call. It is Friday, my favorite day of the week, because I get to be talking about sales with you all. It is Friday, May the 31st of 2019. I know, hard to believe, man. We are in the final month of the first half of the year tomorrow. So we want to make sure we're selling stuff, right? Year's going by pretty quickly. So we want to stay on this year. As usual, I will be joined by Autumn, our telemarketer here at the Griffin Realty Group, and Laura will soon to be joining us because she's actually physically trying to sell something over there across the room. So that's always a good thing. I did want to get into a little bit. Remember, please have your questions ready for us. It's tough to talk at you and go down these holes without finding out what's important to you, how you're doing, what's your experience, because what we want these calls to be about is reality on the phone and in the properties, what you're dealing with, negotiations. I mean, Laura and I are dealing with a tough renegotiation after a home inspection. 1 minute together, 1 minute's off. Now we're back on the market. This is the reality of sales in the real estate business, where there are a lot of emotions that are ruling the day, and you're going to have to keep yours in check to be successful. So I know that stirs up a lot that we need to talk about, and I expect to hear from you, right? Don't sit here in the bleachers learning. Nobody's coming for you. I say that all the time. You need to pay attention to asking your questions so that they can answer here, okay? So off we go here. I'm going to open up the mics and make sure that we're going two ways here. Somebody just let me know. We're two-way call. Yep, we good?
We're good.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, how's everybody doing? We good? Is that Sarah?
We're good. Yeah.
See, Sarah, I'm starting to recognize your voice already. Isn't that good? All right. Let's, Sarah, kick us off before I get into something that I was just talking to Autumn about my office. The biggest challenge for you guys these days, or something that you want to have covered here today. The team up in Ottawa, I know you guys and gals are really grinding away up there, trying to continue to make it happen. What's the hottest topic for you all in that office? Sarah, I lose everybody all of a sudden? Hello, can you all hear me?
No, you're here.
Okay.
No, Danny, you're there.
Okay, don't know what happened. We must have lost Sarah for a second. Metro City Gang, I see two lines open. Oh, here she is. She's back. Sarah, you back?
I'm back.
Okay. I was
Sorry,
asking.
I hung up the call by accident.
That's okay. Yeah, I was asking you the question. Did you hear the question? I wanted to hear what the hottest topic was in the market.
No, I didn't.
For you guys. So, what's the hottest topic that you'd like to talk about and covered? Because I'm going to cover a couple things, but I want to make sure, because I know I have your team on. I want to deal with you guys as well.
I think my biggest one right now is I actually got up. Somebody actually canceled an appointment with me because she wants to wait until the renovations are done. And I've actually noticed that people that have said that to me, they want to wait until everything is all done before having somebody come through. I am getting a lot of hesitation from people not wanting to make a decision right away.
Mm-hmm. Is that new? You think that's a new trend?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And what do you think is the cause of it? What would you say?
I'm not sure at this point. Like, I mean, I have to handle that objection. I should say, before you do any work, we can definitely have a look to see other sales going on in the area, because we'd hate for you to find out that you can get your asking price before you do any of that work. And so I'm still getting that little bit of pushback.
Yeah. And what do they say?
That they just reiterate that they would rather get all the work done. They feel more comfortable getting the work done, getting the renos finished before they have anybody come through.
Okay. So what about coaching them on the renovation itself? Why are they deciding to do certain things? How do they know that those certain things will yield something?
Actually, that's a really good point.
So
most of them, it's mostly aesthetic things. Like, they want to get the paint done, a little bit in the washroom. So I hear out what they want to do, but no, there hasn't definitely been on my end any coaching.
Okay, so what I think there's the opportunity. Certainly, I don't even think I know that's the opportunity, because if you let's consider the way that we look at this with these 7 steps, right? The number one thing is, before you get started, this is a financial transaction you're about to get involved in. That's number one. So there's math, right? So I think the provocative questions to begin to ask are in the framework of this context of how this is about to go down, right? So in other words, the first step is price. Has anybody talked about the potential price range and how reconditioning the property relates to that, right? There's just two beats right there. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, that's really good.
Okay, so I think, hang on a second, I got a hot mic here.
So have you talked about price range and how renovations will affect that?
Yeah, right. So Autumn's just taking some notes here. So has anybody coached you on what price range you might be in and what the buyers would be looking for renovations? Because oftentimes we assume they want things and that's not necessarily exactly right. Now, of course, if it's generic painting and cleaning, that's great, but still colors matter. And fixing things might be more important than painting. So unless somebody's walked through the property for a quick consultation, it's no obligation, there's no harm. We're happy to do that to be your coach. See, I think the blow off is, and I get it. I mean, people are smart. They finally wake up one day and they look at their house. You know, I'm in the middle of that too. My house has been a slow but steady renovation because it was a big project to begin with. And with kids, you can only get so far. So you make these presumptions of certain things are important, but then there are other things that you skip by. And I would say that, you know, it really starts the good old fashioned way from curb appeal in. I think oftentimes people do a lot of interior renovation and they haven't even taken a breath to take a look at what this place looks like if I'm driving by. I mean, you might start these days on the internet, but you're darn well going to drive by that property to see if it's of interest to you in that neighborhood is, right? And remind me to segue into that about your education there. So I think when you're on the phone and you're talking to people, Sarah, it's easy to default towards just trying to get that appointment. But why? Why at that point in time is sending somebody to see them valuable at that point in time? See, their perception may very well be you're just sending somebody over to list the property. I'm not ready for that. No, you're right. You're not ready for that type of appointment, but you're definitely in need of a consultation before you go too far with renovations. Why don't you get a trained eye over there that sees this every day, works with buyers every day, and let's focus on what those things are. A lot of them are low to no cost too. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I think you have to first identify why are they pushing back, right? Why? What's the reason for it? So go a little bit deeper now that I've just said that to you. Think to some of these conversations. What are some of the things they say? Because I know you're going to push. So when you push, what have you been saying and what have they been saying?
I mean, I can, the one prospect that I've been speaking to, we've gone back and forth a few times, and the last few conversations have just been strictly about the renovation. And so when I asked her, you know, is there a reason why you wanted to get all this work done? Did you feel like this amount of work that's going to get done is going to help you sell quicker, sell faster? And she's just being very vague. So at that point, when there's when she's not giving me direct answers, I think I start to push back a little bit. Yeah. And not be so aggressive. Yeah. And because she's starting the painting this weekend, I said, you know what? I'll give you a shot next week to see how the painting's going.
Well, you know what? Even that can
that's where I've been getting a little bit stuck.
Yeah. Well, even that can be a little bit flimsy, right? Because it's now you've put yourself in a position where you're going to be the pest. How's the painting going? How'd it come out? You know, are you ready? You see what I'm saying? We have to discover here somewhere along the line some sort of a helpful positioning, right? And hold on. And what is missing here? So in this person's process, the discovery is, and you have a strategy. You're approaching this strategy. You understand what they're in need of. So your job is to go into discovery mode as to how to be valuable to that person in a very genuine way. I mean, this is not something that you need to go and make up. This is a very genuine offer of help at this point in time. Does that make sense?
Okay. So what kind of verbiage or what kind of offer can I make based on they're using that as an out to me? So what kind of verbiage or what question can I ask, get past that point where it puts you back in the driver's seat?
Let's go back to strategy. Okay. I was just writing something we did a social media call yesterday, and social media telemarketing in the house. Our job is to be the purveyor of helpful information. That's what makes us interesting, right? So if you can position yourself as the purveyor of good information, Gary Vaynerchuk had a great line that hit me this month, where he said on one of his videos, he really deeply believes that if he could give them enough information where they wouldn't need him, then he would have achieved really what he wants to achieve. And meaning, that sounds like it's an insane proposition for salespeople, but it's actually what ingratiates you to that person and actually gets you the sales opportunity. The pestering is an over pursuit and makes them go away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a technique and a tactic to sort of get around them. It's a genuine asking of yourself. I'm listening to this woman tell me about painting. So in other words, it goes back to, oh, really? You're painting. Are you thinking about selling this soon? So I don't know whether this is a prospect follow-up call or a lead. So give me more context, please. Is this a lead? Was this a first call?
No, this is somebody that I've caught up with a few times. We had an appointment set up, but because her husband was away, we had set up a tentative appointment. I talked to her the Monday or the Tuesday. We set it up for the Saturday. But then when I followed with her the Friday, because she asked me for a reminder, she said, you know what, my husband's back in town. He's been away for a couple of weeks, and he decided he doesn't want to do any business. We're going to keep it like a family weekend. Call me back next week. So I pushed the appointment as another tentative to this Saturday, tomorrow.
Good.
And I promised that I would check in with her just to remind her as well.
Okay.
Because she's an accountant. So she's been crazy busy. She said, you know what, just please call me and I will confirm. And that's when I got the email back saying, thanks for the email. We have decided to wait until we do some major renovations, a little bit of paint. I will contact you once our situation changes.
Okay, so major renovations. Did it say major renovations?
Yeah. But then when I called her, I said, well, what were you thinking of doing? You mentioned major. She's like, well, a little bit of paint. We've got a lot of decluttering to do, maybe the floors.
Slow down. I couldn't quite, your mic's a little bit crackly. Slow it down for me again. A little bit of paint, but then I missed the other two beats.
A little bit of paint, a little bit of decluttering, and maybe the floors, because she heard that it was going to be a bit cheaper to do laminate flooring and do all hardwood.
Okay. Well, before you do that, why don't you let me send somebody over to give you an opinion?
Okay.
Period. I mean, I think the weight on us to get this big listing presentation versus just getting in there for the relationship. I mean, the relationship is far more important as it leads towards that moment. Right? I mean, we have had some good conversation over the past couple of weeks on the sales training call. Well, what am I doing? Am I trying to just get a package out the door? No. Am I just trying to get a consultation meeting about the floors? No. But those are necessary steps between now and when somebody would even give you a shot at trying to be their listing agent. Right?
Right.
So look, the more and more and more, and look, quite frankly, if somebody else is savvy enough to say that, then you're on the outside looking in because now they've gone there. Now they've consulted. They've been more willing than you to give of your time. I'm not saying that you weren't aware of that, but I think that you've gotten yourself into this mode like all of us, where you're just simply trying to get in the door. Well, then I'll call back then. And I always refer to it as sort of the, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Follow up. And that's just not going to be good enough. I don't personally, Sarah, I don't think it was ever good enough. But I think we got away with it to a large extent pre-information age, pre-digital age. But now people were getting to people earlier than ever before because of the internet. So they're early on making these decisions. But, you have to express to them, look, you want to make an informed decision. What you think are the projects to improve it for you may or may not be important to the buyers. But at least let me send somebody over to validate what you're thinking and give you an opinion. It's no pressure. It's no obligation. But you didn't say that, right? You asked her properly what it was, but you didn't ask if you could send a consultant over, or did you?
But see, the first time she told me, when we had a conversation about her house, when she was giving me the details, that's when I said, that's the thing though. See, this is probably the second conversation we've had where she kind of pushed me off again regarding that.
Sorry, I had somebody come in. Guys and gals, remember when you come in, *6 your mic if you're in a car or something like that. Go ahead.
So we have had that conversation where I said, before you make any big decisions on what kind of work you're going to get done, I always come by to give you some feedback on things you may not have to do.
Hold on. Yeah. Autumn and I had the exact same reaction. I felt it in my gut. And she said it out loud. That's weak language.
It's not, we always can come by.
Yeah.
Why don't you let me send my guy over?
Yeah, for sure.
Because when you say we can always do this, and I'm not trying to be hard on you at all. I'm just putting myself in the client position.
Yeah.
As if you're talking to me right there. I don't feel that you're confident.
Yeah, I get concerned about that too, Sarah. I think just in general, sales language. Look, at ultimately, ultimately they're waiting to be led.
Yes.
And sometimes they don't know what they need to be led about. And in this case, this is a very serious moment in time. If you consider 7 steps to selling starts with, hey, look, you could be in this price range. And if you want to improve your position in that price range, conditioning your property from the outside in matters. And then, of course, once that's all clean and everything, is ready to go, moving furniture around. And you're right, decluttering is just, it's a generic term for staging, to formally be able to move things around so that it sets the space to enhance, pictures and showings, etc. You need a consultation on that. And we would like to be the ones that do that. So when would be a time we could send somebody over to help you, and you can lean in. I mean, you'll understand if she's leaning off, but say, well, again, if you don't want us to come over, get somebody. Is anybody consulting you? And that's where I think you can push back. It's not just pushing back to try to get her timing to change. It's pushing back to give her the consultation that she needs.
A service.
Right.
I might have said, this is what I would like to suggest to you. Let's get my guy in there, give you, because then you're going to find out right away if she's just putting you off.
That's right.
Right.
And that's what you really need to find out. What is her real objection? What is it? Does she not like your shoes? Did she not like what you sent her? What's the real objection? So a little more digging.
Yeah. And in this case, it could be the husband. So you have to be careful.
Behind her.
Yeah.
Right.
It could be him because she liked you. She had an opportunity to say, yes, I think, it would be great if you joined me. So that opportunity was there. But then he comes home and he changes it. Right. So he's making this business decision to go in and say, no, don't go right away. Don't have somebody over right away. I want to do this other stuff first. So he doesn't know you. He doesn't have a relationship with you. And that's where we need to get in there and establish that. Right.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Sometimes when it goes back to, like, I know what I need to say. It's almost changing. It's just a few words that makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, well, but it's also an attitude and an understanding. Let me go deeper with you where I'm coming from. You need to get a better understanding of and this is where I'm going to segue into what I was talking to Autumn about in our own business, right? You need to have a better understanding of the process that the outside sales is going to be like. And I'm not saying that as a veteran, you don't have some idea, but I want it taught and I want it formulaic in my office and in my coaching company. I want everybody to understand the entirety of the process so they're more clear about their role. So here's what happened today. As I, from time to time I come in and I listen to Autumn and I watch and listen to the questions she's asking about, well, what about this? What about that? So after 10 weeks of doing this in real estate, 35 plus of telemarketing, it now becomes, okay, enough being generic and general. Now you have to learn the next level of specificity as it relates to the prospect or the client, the lead in this case, right? Mm-hmm. So in other words, she was looking at a property, Sarah, that was right down the street from here. And it might as well have been in California the way she was talking about it, right? Right? Because and again, I'm exaggerating the point, and you get where I'm coming from. But her questions were simple. And there are things I never asked myself. Well, wait a minute. How many villages are there in the town of Barnstable? How many square miles is the town of Barnstable? Basics, which is why at the mastermind level, I force everybody to go through that marketing mind map so they become more cognizant of their geography.
The surrounding.
Well, because this is the product.
Right.
The inventory is a geographically located physicality. Right? Well, that was a tongue twister, Laura, right? So, but that's what it is, Sarah. It's a very specific place in a very specific area, in a very specific neighborhood. And that's what's important to that very specific person. Now, in your job, and Autumn's up front, you know very little about them. So at least be prepared to talk about product and process. You with me? Tracking me?
Yep.
Okay. So process, I want to up here. You don't make process more difficult for yourself. You don't need to be to the point where we're all intellectually insecure trying to say too much on the phone. You have to say, look, here's the deal. We have a 7-step process that everybody goes through. Number 1 is having an idea of what a house in your neighborhood with your features could sell for. And that's a range. And so the first thing that we do is we take a look at that range, and we could do that online generally, but then there is a way to move up in the range.
Right.
And this is what they all want to hear.
Right.
Okay? They want to know, how do I get more for my property?
Right.
Well, that starts with the next step. After we see the range that's based on the math, now we come there and we coach you on how to recondition the property so it's ready for sale. You've been living in it, you haven't given it much thought, but you need to recondition for sale. Everybody does. Now, but I don't have any money, I don't have any time, 16,000 excuses. No problem. Still, let me come and take a look at it, because you might be able to put some elbow grease in when it comes to simply cleaning and moving furniture and DIY stuff. Let me come over and talk about conditioning and staging. Okay. So that's a process. 1, 2, 3. Price range improved by condition and staging, right? Whether it's DIY or it's bringing in professionals does not matter as much as the process matters. So the first value, Sarah, in the process is understanding our experts will show you generally where you could trade. See, people always listen to me and they say, well, where do you get that language from? Wall Street?
Right.
And every other place where a market is made for anything, right? You trade back and forth, money for product, money for stock, money for fruit. It doesn't matter. It's just the language of business. So you have to understand that pricing is a range where something might sell based on what it's been selling for. So the first thing that we want to do with them is discuss, we're going to give you an idea of what the price range is. Well, I already saw it online. I get that, but we're experts. Let us come in and take a look at it, because I'm sure the next thing you want to know is how to get to the highest level in the price range. And that has to do with condition coaching and staging coaching. Whether you use us or not, let us in.
And keep asking.
Yes.
Ask at least 3 times.
Who's helping you? Who's deciding on what to do? Like, who told you what to do? Why did you decide to paint versus the floors versus outside? What about landscaping? What about exterior paint? Is it interior paint? You can really get in there and actually be the consultant on the phone and not rush. Because here's the problem with rushing. Now you set yourself up to be that pest. Is the paint done? Yes, it is. Great. Can we come over? Nope. We decided to do the floors. Well, can I call you back and see the on and on and on and on, and the relationship with you, and they list with somebody else? You hear that, Sarah? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's the hazard here.
Yeah.
So
if you don't get it, the next agent will.
But you have to get it the right way by being helpful. So if you remember process, what is the process I'm coaching this lady on? Okay. Great. Is your husband going to be around? Can we come over and see you both? And because I've never talked to your husband before, what are his thoughts about this? If you think that you're getting undermined by somebody who doesn't know you, has never heard you, doesn't even know who Metro City is. By the way, have they received anything in the mail about Metro City at this point in time?
No, not yet.
Okay, see, there's my next point, is that I think what we've discovered more recently is in the digital age and the telemarketing age, we're forgetting the whole package. And I don't know if Sarah Corey's on this phone call too, but that would be more for her management, and Tarek and the marketing piece of this would be like, look, I know you don't know us and you sound a little bit reluctant to let us in. Let me send you over a brochure on who we are and what we do. Okay? Or I'm going to send you over a brochure. So you and your husband know who we are. We want to be a known quantity because we, quite frankly, want to not lose an opportunity to compete for your business. You have to be more explicit in that piece of it and honest. She knows
we don't need to hide anything.
She knows what you want to do.
Right.
You want to get there. But you say, but the way that we want to compete is by helping you now. Yeah, I know you're not ready to list. Acknowledge it. I know you're not ready to list. I'm not asking you to have me send somebody over there to list the property. I'm asking you to let me have somebody come over to help you make these decisions. You follow? See the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's a big difference.
Did you say the way we want to compete is by seeing it now?
The way we want to compete is by helping you make these decisions now. Sorry, Autumn's taking notes from this so that we have some notes.
The way we want to compete is by helping you
make the decisions that you'll need to make to move up the ladder in price. Like, why would you make those unilaterally alone when you have an expert who will come out and do it? There's no obligation to list with us because of it. However, knowing that if you look at again, go back to the Gary Vaynerchuk statement. If we could truly let go of the outcome in an authentic way, the irony is the outcome will come to us more often than not. It's just true. It's just the way that it works. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
What about asking if they have consulted with somebody? Because maybe they've already spoken with a few
100%.
people about what to do.
Well, 100%. I said that, I think, earlier, but I would absolutely, Laura, agree. Absolutely. Is somebody already helping you? Laura, that's actually quite a big problem, especially when telemarketing, departments really get ramped up, is that we see it for the transaction. We're just pounding and we're afraid. And especially telemarketers like Sarah, Patrick, Dave, they all have these kind of quotas in their head for how they're supposed to be successful. And I think Patrick, a couple of weeks ago, really stated that by slowing it down, and Pat, you can speak to this if you're on, Patrick really slowed it down, focused more on this helping component of it. And I think he said his business is far better. Is that right, Pat? You on here with us too?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Last year, a lot more aggressive in just trying to get the appointment rather than listen to what their needs were and when their exact timeline would be. So even if we got in the door right away, it didn't mean that they were ready to go, and then it just turned into a follow-up, which is now I'm helping them through the entire process until they're actually ready, and then by the time we get through the door, they're ready to sign the paperwork.
Yeah, perfect. So speak, and Dave, you go next after Pat. Speak to some of that specifics. Can you think, Pat, of a time where you got a body in the door, it didn't list then, and then the follow-up came to you? Can you think of an anecdote like that you could speak to specifically? I know I'm catching you off guard, but
there's been many occasions where that's happened. But an example of me catering to their needs rather than going into the appointment right away would be just, I understood that she wanted to get a deck done and stuff, and I also do that kind of work, so I offered to help her get the deck done before she would list, and
cool.
And now we're going to be listing her property in about a month after I finish up her deck.
Excellent. Yeah, fabulous. There's a perfect example, Sarah. I mean, and that's way above and beyond because he happens to be, the contractor who can actually go out there. That makes Mexico City absolutely super valuable. Now, it didn't have to be Pat. It could have been someone Pat knows. Hey, listen, I've got a great contractor. In my case, my guy is Caesar. Let me see if we could get Caesar, and if not, we'll get Z. I have a list of people that can get out there and give you a quote. And because I have, some level of relationship, not some level, I have a high level of relationship with these people. Let me get somewhere and where I can get you a contractor so you don't have to go hunt it yourself. I mean, these people are at the mercy of contractors, process, their own guessing, Sarah. It's actually chaos. When you're trying to go list your own property, it's chaos. And you have to live your life. And like you already said, now compound that by husband's traveling back and forth, wife's an accountant, so she's under this tremendous end of year pressure. Now they've got extensions and they have to do what they have to do. You need to step in and lean in more aggressively as the resource, like Pat gave an anecdote there. Dave, go ahead. How about you? Thoughts there from you? Do we have?
What's the exact question?
Okay, the exact question is, when you started to take the approach to be more helpful and consultative on the consultative on the phone, instead of just pushing for that, that are you ready kind of mentality. Give me an anecdote where that benefited you.
I'm having a hard time thinking of one.
No, I'm good. give me what you feel about that when I say that. How have you been able to do it? Like, what would you do differently? What advice would you give Sarah?
Well, I mean, it's basically my entire process has changed where,
Exactly.
in the very least, I'm able to filter people for a proper follow-up plan if I'm not able to get an appointment with them. So the vast majority of my phone calls are now ending with a proper follow-up plan, if not the appointment. So that's dramatically changed and expanded my pipeline at least.
Okay, so talk to that though. If you don't get an appointment, and I get that you launched the appropriate plan, I want content. What are you finding when somebody's not ready to go? Are you finding a commonality?
When they're not ready to go, we like to get out there and meet with them anyway, impress upon them. Let's just meet real quick, no obligation. I mean, we're not here to pressure. Just want to see the house, get to know each other, and
sometimes, I mean, if someone's not ready to go, I really need to figure out what that means, because
exactly,
if they're not ready to go and I force them into an appointment, they're just going to cancel it.
Okay, so correct. So I'm asking you specifics. Be specific about some of the things they're not ready to go. So we have, one was a deck, one was flooring and paint. Are you hearing things like that or something different?
Oh yeah, I get the renovation one all the time, and I actually bring up the 7-point strategic plan and talk about how conditioning is important. It's the second stage of our plan, and getting someone in there, before you undertake any of the small things or the big things is paramount to long-term success. So I get varying levels of pushback on that, of course. But some people, I feel like they use that renovations as an out. And I usually, if someone uses the same out on me 3 times, 2.5 times, yeah, I give it to them. I don't push on that anymore because it's a disaster to do.
Perfect. Okay, Sarah and Dave, sorry I had to poke at you to get it out of you. You all have said the same thing, okay? And that's what I'm trying to prove here. The more volume that we have of doing something in any sales process, and in our case, it's residential real estate telemarketing on the phone, okay? You're recognizing why I said you better understand your process so you can speak to it. Most people say what you just said, right? You say to the other end of the line, you're right, Sally. Most people do talk about reconditioning the property on a regular basis. What we find is our clients that have been the most successful allowed us to come out early in the process so we could coach them on what to do and what not to do. You don't want to guess at that, because there are certain things you need to do for a sale versus the way that you would do them for yourselves. Boom. That's it. So to speak to Grant's position about trying to get out there, you still have to show a value. Now, what I just did is I added the third-party testimonial type of mentality where you're saying, hey, look, our clients, hey, funny thing you should ask about a deck. I was dealing with this guy, Bob. Bob had a little deck issue too. I happen to be, a deck contractor. So I went out, here's what we did. We used ePay on his deck. It came out beautiful. Buyers loved it. Boom. Now you can start to drop in true anecdotes the more experience you accumulate. So it starts with the generic, absolutely, conditioning is everything. And it is probably the number one effect on getting the right. So what I recommend is you let us come out and give you a conditioning presentation, not a listing presentation. Let us come out and give you a reconditioning consultation, right? So Dave, I think to that point, it's now time for the next level, because you're all repeating that it's the very same issue that they need help with. Make sense?
So can we distill this into weak language and excuses and not really getting to the real objection? Because that's what's happening here. That's all we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, the real objection, though, this is an interesting thing. First of all, before I give my thoughts, what do the three of you think is the objection?
They don't trust you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Selective hearing. Sorry.
Go ahead. So what is the objection here that we're dealing with? Because it's really important for everybody who makes a phone call.
Yeah.
I got to do some work first. That's it. It's called condition.
Well, they're using your
Hold
house.
on. Come on, speak to me. Ottawa, speak to me. Don't go quiet on me. You got in the hot seat, all three of you. Sarah, where'd you go?
No, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. I'm listening.
Speak to me. What is the objection we're dealing with here, do you think? This is not a trick question. I want your opinion.
The objection we're dealing with, I think, is they think that if they get the work done, then they can come through, whatnot. What we're giving them is an offer for a reconditioning consultation. So that would be the rebuttal to the objection.
Okay, keep coming. Dave, keep coming. Sarah, keep coming. I want to know what you think it is. I thought that was good, Pat.
That's tough.
Yeah, see, you
That's
never
really
thought.
tough.
Well, see this. Well, and if we don't think through this, you're making your job tougher, because what you're doing is you're accumulating. And it was funny how, like, Dave has this down pretty cold from a couple of weeks ago, and Dave, you were like a deer in the headlights as soon as I asked it. So what does that reveal? It reveals that we're not giving this enough thought. This very
no, you're right.
Right? We're not giving this enough training and thought, and you've bubbled it up. Good news is we have broached the subject for multiple years now, where we know that the pricing range is the issue, and condition is the number one thing that affects that. I mean, especially in the aging parts of, a lot of product is aging, especially on Cape Cod where I live. My goodness, stuff that was built in the 90s looks exhausted. And there's a lot of pushback from buyers because a whole new set of, windows from 40 years ago is expensive. The roof, we just had a deal blow up over a roof that's not even leaking, but it's older. So these things are real issues that need to be dealt with. In fact, I think one of the listing things that we need to deal with is going to be a checklist of items that you have to address. And if you don't address them, let's price them out with a contractor so we deal with it. Because we're just going to tell you right now, when you go to list, these things are there. However, there are some things you shouldn't do. You're wasting your money, right? Because now you're going to guess and you're going to put your own style in there, and nobody's consulting you on that. So what we're not thinking about is that this is coming up regularly. The three of you just said it. Actually, come to think of it, Danny, most people are reconditioning. And I had this thought. Think about this. They may be reconditioning the property because they think they're playing the pricing it right bingo game, so that when they have you or somebody else over, you're going to tell them it's worth more after they just guessed.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, right? So they want to sell you before you even go. So you have to reposition yourself and say, look, I get it. You're reluctant to have us over. You think we're going to be pushy. You need a reconditioning consultation. And somebody needs to do it, whether it's a contractor or whatever, but we'd be the ones to do it as it relates to how much money you're going to get in return. Don't waste money on floors that don't need it. I can't tell you all how many times I've gone into a house and somebody says, well, I'm going to do this. I'm like, huh? What? Your perception of that added value is way off. Instead, go out. Who said what? Oh yeah. One of our own sellers asked that today. He said, well, how much more do you think I could get if I finished the whole thing? I'm like, why would you do that when this neighborhood is not going to support that? And you're looking for exit. What I would do instead is spend that money and time with a button-up list and a cleanup list, take it to a next level of cleansing the palette. So we just had this. This is a very, very serious piece of this business. And since you're all approaching it from the phone, you need to really think about it. Pat, I think that was awesome, that anecdote about the deck. But Dave, I'm going to come back to you. Are you seeing where I'm coming from now? It's not just that you hit a button and say, well, I'm going to follow up. It's that you have to press on that moment now and say, look, conditioning is everything. And that happens well before anybody lists your property. Why not have us out? And I think you have to lean in a little bit more there, but you're leaning in with value. See, Sarah, if he leans in, if you lean in, if Pat leans in with value added, hey, listen, we could coach you through that. Why would you go anywhere else?
It takes a little bit of the pressure off because I think, like you said, she understands what I'm trying to do. She understands what my goal is. But I think when we change the conversation and be the ones to provide them with a service that's not necessarily, may not even gain us a listing, but at least we can help her.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference. Yeah, it takes the pressure off for sure.
Well, let me say
Also,
this.
too,
Yeah, come on.
the reconditioning consultation, those two words, I've never put back to back and said to someone. So that's going to be added to the vernacular because, first and foremost, a lot of the leads that we deal with are people who are looking for home evaluations. So you talk about home evaluations and you talk about having someone come by to give that home evaluation. Well, you've created this expectation in the seller where they think, okay, before someone comes over and evaluates my home, I need to make sure that it's looking as good as it can look.
Yeah, they're very proud. We definitely get that.
Yeah, but that's going to just get in my way.
Yeah.
Absolutely
so
right.
Switching those words.
Absolutely right. Bravo. There's the
Do a lot
distinction.
better.
Bravo. There's a perfect distinction, pulling the assembly line together. 5 gold stars to all 3 of you for rooting this out here. Okay, because I don't know that it's ever been as clearly discussed as it is today. So bravo. That's why we do these calls. What you have rooted out.
We were
one
talking
second.
about that this
Yeah,
morning.
one sec. So what you've rooted out is this goes all the way back. And if Sarah Corey is not on, Tarek, Steve, make them aware of this discussion because they are subsequently responsible for overseeing the language that is used to get that home evaluation lead. And you just gave me, Dave, a whole new understanding of that moment. If somebody says evaluation, and my hunch is they're trying to buff it up so that you'll tell them some magic higher number, what an erroneous process we've set up, right? What a flawed process we've set up. Because really, a home evaluation is to say, look, here's what we do with our home evaluation. You asked for a reason. What's the reason? You thinking about moving? Yes. Okay. Are you moving soon or later? Soon. Okay, good. The evaluation that we're going to come over and do is how does it look right now? And are there things you could and should do to improve it? That's phase 1. If you're all buffed up and ready to go as is, or you're not going to do anything because you don't have the money, time, effort, well, fine. We can come over and give that evaluation, show you what it's going to sell for, okay? But the idea of an evaluation is to come and look at it as it sits today and make a consultation. I can't tell you the last time I just sort of went into a random house and just listed it. I mean, everybody asked me to come over, give them some thoughts of what's going on. The one you're dealing with right now in Tennessee, the kids that have moved. They've gone and done things based on feedback, their roof and this, but they still wanted me to go over, and I had a consultation for conditioning. I said, everything looks good, but the minute I hit it, I smell mildew coming out of your finished basement. No good. And here's what you need to do. You need to get these little buckets from Home Depot. You open it up. It kills it. You got to get that dehumidifier going. Open up the windows. That's my consultation on top of a list of things that were done. And they said, thank you. We called up, the property management team that's doing the rentals for them, and they've reached out to get that done. All right, Sarah, you're going to say something, and Laura in my office was going to say something. Go ahead.
I actually had a question for you, Dave. It's me, Hannah.
Go
Sorry, Danny?
Yep, go ahead.
So you were just saying before you explained to the seller the reconditioning consultation that the expectation that people had when they're coming in as a home evaluation is erroneous?
It could be, yes.
We should be giving them...
It could be, yes.
Sorry.
It could be. Okay. Pat highlights, Dave highlighted something for me that was very interesting, is that if they think they're coming in to get in, I'd have to take it, Dave, a little bit deeper. Hannah, if they're coming in with the expectation that they've asked for a home evaluation, so they get this magic price, yes, we have a faulty process. And that I don't know what the home evaluation company with their ads has said to set them up for that, or it's more so the consumer's perception of what they're asking for is the problem always, because they don't know.
So we use a third party lead generator for the home evaluations that people are requesting, and so they're obviously they have their Google AdWords and people are
filling out information based on us giving them a free online home evaluation.
Yeah, and that's a faulty process, no doubt about it.
Okay.
Yeah, think about the language, and you can't fault any lead generation company, agency, etc. You have to ride along the beam of light to experience it from our perspective for the consumer. So if you had a consumer and you were riding along this beam of light or this assembly line, what's the thought? And this is the hard part. What is the thought that I just had that made me type into that little, white box? What's my home worth? Right? What's the thought that I had? Is it to sell, or is it to prepare to sell? What is it? We don't know that, but they took that action, typed it in. Our ad oftentimes has been abdicated to a third party. We never really even mystery shop our own stuff. We don't really know what the ad says. So it may or may not be a faulty situation. It may be very clear what it is, right? A great home evaluation starts with a reconditioning consultation, right? Does it say that? No. See what I'm saying? So, and we know that on a regular basis, the number one thing that affects value when you go to sell is your condition. So the irony is what we're discovering here today is if you ride along this, by the time it arrives at the business development associate's desk, right? Dave's right. How do they come to me? What are they thinking in that moment? Hey, I saw that you asked for a home evaluation. What was it you were hoping to get online? Ask. Because that's the expectation that we're trying to discover. So think about it. How many times do we actually pick up the phone and try to figure out what they really are asking for? We don't. We assume or presume a certain thing based on the way our businesses are set up. Well, you asked for a home evaluation and you wanted it online. See, there's another faulty situation. They wanted it online. So were they expecting an algorithmic spit back?
Lots of people are actually expecting that, 100%.
Okay, so that's a faulty situation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So that's why we always have to kind of tell them, okay, well, so in order to generate that report for you, we do need to find the comparables, ask them all the probing questions, et cetera, figure out what exactly they're looking for. But a lot of the people are filling these forms out based on the fact that they think they're going to get a report right away.
They think something's going to come online. So what I say is that's definitely a faulty practice. If you are all not prepared to at least give them what they expected, you are immediately trying to repair a damaged and faulty promise. I'm not saying anybody's doing it consciously, but what we're doing unconsciously is running an ad and not thinking about what we just promised. See, you have to be consistent along the line, right? You have to be consistent along the line. At least if a Zillow puts up an algorithm and says, look, find out what your property is worth, but then they give an explicit, not a little, thing down the bottom, the disclaimer. But if you say, look, if you want to start with an online evaluation through an algorithm, this could be off by as much as 20% because we don't know the current condition of your property, and we certainly don't know exactly what. Right? That's just the reality.
Yep.
But how often are marketers saying that to the consumer? We're not, because we presume that we have to almost trick the consumer into opting in versus just being authentically real and saying, look, here's what you're going to get. Hey, Danny, thanks for asking for the online evaluation. What that includes is a list of properties that sold around you to help you kind of figure out what's happening, right? You follow me?
Yeah.
You got to give them something.
I actually like that a lot.
So, go ahead. Who is that, Sarah? Were you weighing in with Hannah?
Oh, that was me. No, that was me. I like that a lot because then it allows me to acknowledge what they're expecting, and then I can easily go into, this is exactly what I'm going to be sending you. Thanks for the request.
Exactly.
Really like that.
Exactly. You asked for it online, so we don't believe in this little spit out algorithm guesstimate. What we believe in is that you would get online or via your email is you're going to get pictures and details of properties around you that are most like you that sold, that will help you see what's affecting your value. Now, of course, if you're looking for a true evaluation, that means you're considering selling it. that means you need to consider the entire process. And the next step after us getting this data to you that you requested is an evaluation of your potential price range and what you can do to move up in it. See, now I'm cohesive. Hey, you asked for this thing. We're delivering it to you. It's valuable. We're making good on the promise we made on the ad. Here's what we give you. Now, of course, if you're seriously considering inside the next 12 months selling that property, we believe you should understand also the process. So I'm going to send you an infographic of the 7-step process, and you'll see very quickly a price range, and then moving up in that price range based on conditioning and staging is really the first block of tactics and steps you'll need to consider. Now, we would love to be the ones that consult you through that to get ready for sale. See how, and again, I'm over talking.
Sounds really good.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't get, well, you know what I'm doing though? It's not that it's me being really good. It's that I'm just stating the process. You see what I'm saying? I'm documenting the process. If I'm willing to give away the 7 steps to anyone, including my competitors, all I'm doing is trying to master the obvious. I'm saying, look, I know what you did. You thought I might sell my house. You went to that little white box and you typed in, what's my house worth? And our ad popped up and we said, hey, we'll give you an online evaluation. Hey, thanks for asking for that online evaluation. What that actually includes is only this. It's only this, because it's really only part of a process. What we would need to do with these pictures and details of like-kind properties that sold around you is interpret them so that we could say, you're a little bit more like this, a little bit less like this. But if you want to move up in the value, let us in. Let us look at the exterior, the interior. Let us consult you so that you're prepared. But look, think about it. All the telemarketing that goes on the phone, all the marketing that goes online. We just did this big social media call yesterday. Where are you explaining that to people is my question. Are you saying that in the telemarketing call? Are you saying that in the social marketing videos? Are you sending them information? Are you going out and consulting? See, I think the 3 of you, and now Hannah, I know you're here, the 4 of you, you could all lean in a much greater valuable way than you're doing. They're talking to you. You got what you wanted. They did not hang up. They did not go away. They're talking to you. But lean in and be aggressive about help. That's all.
Can I show you what I wrote?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. When we're talking about what is the real objection, I put down 3 things. 1, usually it's that they don't know you or trust you enough yet. More info about your business needed, which would be the social media, perhaps, making sure that that's really sharp. 2, it's also that they have bad information about the process. Ask them how and where they got that information. Get to the bottom of that. Mm-hmm. And 3, spouse is not in agreement with them. Ask for an appointment with both of them.
Let's chunk it back up to one core foundational piece here that will help everybody. Okay. See when they reacted to me, that was really good. Mm-hmm. Well, it's only because I believe thoroughly in trying to master the obvious of our business first. Michael Gerber's the one that really got this in my head. How does the real estate agent business really work? Now go down a level into how does selling a house inside that business really work? Well, here's how it really works. 1, we take a look at a property as it stands today. In the very market of today, in the very interest rate driven market of today. All those variables today, it's a snapshot in time. So a proper evaluation to sell a house begins with just a fresh look at what are we dealing with today. Doesn't matter if you're ready to sell it today. Mm-hmm. As you sit there today, if you were to go to market today with all these circumstances and your condition, here's the potential range you could sell in.
So that sounds to me like you need to make sure that they trust you enough to be able to come in right up at the top of the whole process. In other words, somehow there's got to be some kind of rapport and information in their hand that will allow you to walk in that door at the very tip top of the process and say, this is our first step.
You're actually already into it if it's been set up right, all the way back where Dave took me, marketing. This goes all the way back to marketing.
Just social
not just social, just any kind of marketing. And word of mouth. I met you at a you got it. And I said certain things that professionalized me in your mind
Mhm.
that I have a process,
Okay.
that I have a plan.
Mhm.
This is storytelling 101.
Yeah.
It never changes.
Yeah.
It is universal.
Painting
You are the
pictures.
hero, and you are looking and hoping that a guide shows up.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to miss my opportunity to make it clear that I'm a really good guide with the plan.
Right.
Let me say it better. I'm a really good guide because I have a plan that is proven and it works.
But now at the party, you're going to give me a business card, and that's going to be not enough for me to know.
I'm going to talk to you, though. I'm going to dramatically demonstrate this as I am on the sales training call,
Mhm.
as I do in an open house,
Mhm.
as I did with Lou.
Mhm.
Okay? I had no expectations
Mhm.
of trying to rip Lou out of the open house and turn him into a client. I simply educated him for a long time.
Okay.
And he came back
Came to you.
looking for me. That's what magnetic attraction is like when you really believe in fully giving to somebody. Here's how to do it without me. Be aware of this.
Mhm.
Now, of course, when somebody gets that moment of intelligence
Mhm.
and they know, well, I'm not going to go do this alone.
Right.
So let me get a guide. Who comes to
They're
mind?
going to go to you.
There wasn't
Okay.
any other competition at that moment in time, at least because it was fresh in his mind. You follow
Okay.
me?
Okay.
So you got to go all the way back to, if your market, this is why I said, I have this whole telemarketing staff
Mhm.
from Metro City, but
Mhm.
I don't have the managers on here. And they're the ones responsible for what the heck does that marketing even say?
Yeah.
So that human that's arriving on the doorstep for them, is there a disconnect? Remember I said this has to be like the
next step.
interlocking legs
Right.
of a process? If marketing is the first step, it better have said things that sets it up for these guys and gals to be successful.
So that they're my next comment, like you and I were talking about.
Should be logical.
So it's like Legos. It's like I complete one Lego, you're the next Lego, so we're having one
It should be
long-term
seamless.
conversation. Right.
Sarah should know exactly what that ad said and what the expectation is. Hey, Danny.
So yeah,
doesn't
we
miss it.
do know what those ads look like that
Yeah.
they're putting up, but it's just the expectation of maybe getting the third party to change what they're actually putting out there. So it's a more seamless process for us once,
For sure. And the conflict there is, I'll tell you right now, you know what the conflict is there? Clickbait.
Mhm.
It's clickbait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's triggers.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a whole different world
Mhm.
these days on getting somebody to do
Online,
something.
yeah.
They're all under pressure to deliver leads to the company. And so they're going to say what clicks a lead in, and they're going to let that burden then fall to you, Sarah, you, Hannah, you, Pat, you, Dave, you. Now the burden is on you. So at least forget about marketing for a second. I just want to bulletproof you that, okay, fine. If the only way a human being is going to trust anything is to, you have an expectation to get an online home eval, give them something online.
Right.
Give them something. Say, technically what comes to you online is a list of properties from me that are sold around you in the last couple of months. They have pictures and details. Okay? That's going to give you an idea for the price range. That's the beginning of an evaluation. But a thorough evaluation includes these other beats. I just want to bulletproof you for that moment. I can't solve marketing issues like that, but I can certainly solve and harm you to all be better prepared. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
All right. Questions from other people that were sitting here listening to this day? GVD, you were out there. Gail, you had a couple of hot mics, and there was another hot mic in San Diego. I don't know who it was. Laura, go ahead. You had something to say.
Have you given any thought after having this conversation about doing an ad specifically for a what was it?
Reconditioning consultation.
Reconditioning, yeah.
I haven't until today.
Yeah,
I'd
be interested.
It is a new distinction because there's a problem that is common. See what I mean by listening? We're listening to now 4 people who do this job in Ottawa, and they're hearing this consistent issue. It is a problem for them and the consumer. So this is the first time ever we're leaning in with new language. It says, look, you need a reconditioning consultation, including if it means you're not going to do anything, you're going to need us to get contractors to price it out so it could be dealt with. So regardless, you need me now. You need me now. Don't go do this. It's free. You'll see we are genuine. And to make you aware of who we are, I'm going to send you the pictures and details of the properties. I'm going to drop in our seller plan that has a brochure about us too. See, Sarah, that's where I was going. If you're that close in, the best marketing dollar now could be these packages we're sending out to really formalize that we're professional. It's not just a voice on the other end. It's something now comes, I feel like you're engaging me now. There's a real physical process. Does that make sense?
No, I'm really happy with the way you answered that question, because it was something that when I came and I talked to Dave about, as soon as I got that email, I just thought, oh my God, what am I going to do with this lady? She's telling me again, no. So that was really, really helpful. I'm definitely going to change my introduction now. Anytime I do get that kind of lead, and not do kind of like the bait and switch. Definitely go into, I'm acknowledging what you're asking for. This is what I'm going to send you. And then go into my conversation about the range. And you want to be within this range, or do you want to make more money? And no seller's going to say no to that.
Like, that's what they're trying to do without guidance. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's no trick here. I know why you're trying to recondition your house. You want more money, right? Who's going to say no? Nobody, unless unless they're really just confused and they're babbling and trying to get rid of you, period. But look, you're doing that to make more money. Our job is to come in and tell you whether those projects are correct, whether the choice of flooring is correct, whether the color of paint is correct, and if there's anything else you're overlooking because you don't do this every day. We do. It's just logic, right? But it's almost like we're afraid to speak logically to this person, even though we know exactly where they're at. Right, Sarah?
I think automatically we put them in the power seat because we kind of want to tend to them, and they're the ones that have the upper hand. We almost kind of tread lightly, and even if they are wrong, we don't want them to think that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's why we do let them we do push back on certain things.
I know why that happens, by the way. But I know why that, it's more than language. I know why that happens. It's the pressure to perform when leads are flowing in and being paid for, and not enough appointments are being booked to justify all the expenses of conversion. I understand very clearly what the problem is. But the fix is actually relatively simple. If we will continue to listen to what the consumer actually says after they actually opt in or we actually get their name, you can begin to produce a solution for them. You don't enforce what you think works. You look at the reality of what somebody's going through and you produce the correct solution for the problem. You follow the difference?
It's a big shift in mindset.
Yeah, but an easy one, because how would you want to be treated on the other end? Right? If you needed to buy a car, what would be the greatest thing that somebody could tell you? All right, look, here's how this works. All right, is that there's a certain pricing mechanism in the auto industry. Now, I know you won't begrudge us as the dealership of a profit. Okay, we might not be the lowest, but here's what's important. We are going to take our time without pressuring you to buy a car today. We don't believe that if you walk off the lot today, you're not going to buy with us. We believe that if we educate you thoroughly about these different cars, what the incentive deals are, when there might be a better price, then we believe you'll stick with us. Why is that not exactly the way we all want to be treated? It is. We want to be treated transparently. Honestly, how many times, Autumn, have you heard somebody say, I just want an honest presentation? Yeah. And you only been in the business 10 weeks.
Oh, quite a few times.
Right? So I think, Sarah, it's just about thinking about them honestly. Oh, that poor lady. Her husband comes home. She's an accountant. They're going to do the floors. What are you going to rip your whole house apart? Yeah. Why? Why? Let me just see.
Simplify it.
Let me see. Maybe you're right. I might come over and agree. I might not. But what's wrong with a free opinion from an expert? There's no obligation. We know we're coming over for a reconditioning consultation to improve price. And we just hope that when we do that, and it really comes time to list it, you will give us a real opportunity to discuss how we market it and make a market for it. Right? Make sense?
Complete sense.
Okay.
Can I chime?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I chime in for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I've been in and out of the call, but I heard a couple things that just kind of made me cringe, and I might be a little bit off topic. But I think part of what we need to do is, we as the team leaders, the members of your entourage here, are all for the most part the marketers. I think there's a little bit of a blurred line between marketing and sales.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to step back and really clarify that message and get both sides to meet in the middle,
so we don't have that concrete wall between marketing and sales.
Dean, I cringe all the time. And I think that's exactly right. And I'm not going to let up on the word process here today. If you are manufacturing a process, that's your obligation to be the one that brings that consumer through the process. You are obligated to have it as seamless and smooth as possible. So as the business owner, you're absolutely right. We are in charge of marketing. And yet I'll guarantee you, most people, even at this high level of a mastermind, have no idea what some of their ads really say. They have no idea how they're really being reacted to. So these poor people sitting there waiting for the phone call to be made, oh my gosh, what a monumental task to have to fix the bait and switch, per se. And I know it's not an egregious.
That was the phrase that really made me cringe, was when I heard the bait and switch part of it. It was like, oh shit, that's a real trouble point.
And that's why I say,
I think we need to have more open communication with the crew that's on the phone today, who's living it, and saying, all right, where's the pain point? And we've got to find a way to get marketing and sales to kind of meld together a little bit more and be a hell of a lot more cohesive than they really are. Because even under my own roof, I'm in the process of redoing a lot of my ads, because while technically my ads are being written by a third party, it's my daughter. And she knows, she's got her marching orders. But if we're delegating this out to another company to run Facebook ads, for example, for us, and their job is only to get the ping and capture the information, they succeeded. But the reality of it is that's all wasted money and man hours on both sides if we're not really getting this message squared away.
Hundreds of millions of dollars have been wasted in real estate and online marketing since this internet age exploded. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm certain of it. Why do you think I tried to slow the mastermind talk down yesterday? Was to say, hold on, just slow down for a second. Instead of just rushing off to get on a platform because you see somebody else on the platform, why don't you just take a freaking heartbeat and think about, well, is that even the message that my business needs to put out there? And if it is, how does it help me get more business, right? I mean, just slow it down. It's all logic. But when it arrives at telemarketing, if it hasn't spoken the language that they're going to speak, there's a disconnect the minute the phone is picked up. Right away, immediately. And this is like, so going to expireds and FSBOs and all the contextual stuff, you have to just simply understand their plight and really come right through the door, understand their plight, saying, look, I saw that this happened. The only distinction we learned is, I don't know whether you took it off intentionally because your plans changed or it didn't work out right. But presuming it didn't work out right, I am sending you things that will help you get it right. That's it. That's it. That's the entirety of what we learned. And the same thing with probates. If somebody has died, look, all I know at this moment in time is you are the administrator of an estate, which can be a confusing time. So I am sending you a glossary of terms so you don't get further confused. And in case you don't already have a good probate attorney, a list of attorneys. Now, in the case that there's real estate, which further compounds the confusion, I'm happy to do a free analysis of the property, not for sale, but for estate evaluation purposes. 1, 2, 3, get out.
Right.
Get out. Just meet them where they're at and be uber valuable. Everybody's trying to rush it too many steps down the line, and then they're wondering why these properties, are being, And see, Sarah, you just said it perfectly. Oh my gosh. Now what do I say the next time? It's a painful call to make when it should be so easy, right? You follow me?
Actually, it wasn't more, I was worried about my next call. It was more, you know what, I'm going to do a little bit of, it was perfect that this call happened because now I know what I'm going to say in my next call to her.
Yeah, good. Awesome. But set it up right in the beginning. And it was interesting. Yeah. Dave and Pat have morphed into understand this a little better. And so is Tarek and Steve and Sarah Corey, because I slammed down on that conversation multiple times saying, stop just throwing leads at people. It's just not going to be effective unless you understand, like, is the consumer and their experience changing over the last 5 years in Canada? In your case, in the States, I'll guarantee you it did. The concept of a home evaluation it's gotten watered down. See, there was once a day where home evaluation was, I pick up the phone, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about the property, I'm going to take a look at some of the solds, I'm going to call you back. It was a patient process. Now everybody wants the algorithm to be the rabbit out of the hat magic.
Exactly.
Voila, here's your sale price.
And they get PO'd if you can't provide it.
It is insanity. So if you're going to lean in on anything, lean in on telling them the absurdity of assuming that. And I think intelligence is rising again. I think the consumer is recognizing that an algorithm is not ever going to tell you the exact price that your house is going to sell for. It might be a tool. It might not be a tool that's helpful.
It's got a $60,000 spread. What information? How is that?
Worse than that, what I saw is as I lowered my price, all they did was adjust their price. BS to an algorithm, okay? It's a tool that takes some, data and tries to go there. So Hannah, Sarah, Pat, Dave, all of you, lean in on being helpful. Understand what you really do is a consultative process that gets them set up for success. It's not a magic, I'm going to win the bingo, pricing it right over the phone.
That's why I started up.
Have a good weekend. Go practice this stuff. Let me know. Bring me stories like this. Yeah, bravo. To all four of you, bravo. Good work. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dan.